Good day, everybody. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner, our weekly conversation with Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon. And you know, the season that we're in, the season we are just moving in very quickly. Yes, it's Carnival. It's Carnival. Carnival is coming quickly. And so, listen to the topic Carnival or Carnival, morality and mirror. Way morality and mirror. Where is our Archbishop going with this one? So let's welcome him. Good day, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon. How are you?
I'm doing real good, you know. I doing particularly good on this wonderful day.
Yeah.
But let's just, you know.
We buckling up.
I want to warn people, you don't have to, you know. You don't have to. But I am advising, buckle up.
The minute you put Carnival and you bought morality and mirror, listen, we have to check our review mirror. We have to check our wing mirrors. We have to check all kind of mirrors for this one.
That's it.
So
buckle up. Let you go.
But the question of the day. Now, I like this question. Archbishop G, does Carnival have a morality of its own?
Well, where do you want me to begin?
Well, the thing is, I hope all the viewers heard him cough before. So,
where do you want me to begin? You see, when I got that question, I want to say a rock back and a dingole. Because that's a rocking question. Does Carnival have a morality of its own? You see, somebody sometime back talked about other spheres of life having a morality of its own.
Yeah.
And I've even seen more recently that commenters, one of our commenters from Tobago, arguing that that yes, in fact, politics does have a morality of its own. So I was a little surprised, because then there's this this wonderful John Maxwell, who writes in the about leadership, and he said there's no such thing as business ethics.
No such thing as business ethics?
No such thing as business ethics. Ethics is ethics. Ethics is ethics. Wherever your business is,
yes,
or whatever discipline or field of life in, ethics is ethics. But then the way we treat in Carnival, people are treating Carnival as if, well, you could look on and wonder, does Carnival have a morality of its own?
Hold on. Morality is morality. I can say that.
The way people are treating Carnival, we have to ask ourselves, does Carnival have a morality of its own? Just tell me. You have to ask yourself that question. Because the things I'm hearing, it led me, you know, to wonder myself. When I got the question, I had to wonder, could it? Is it possible? Could it be so? I had to check myself and ask. Because, you know, sometimes people tell you things confy, as if it is so. And they're more confident than you that it have to be so. So sometimes you yourself just have to check yourself and ask yourself, could it possibly be so? Could it possibly be so?
Well, you know, Archbishop J, we are the face facts. You have a vantage point close to the Carnival. So I already want to see where you're going with Carnival, morality, and mirror.
Well, let's start off by saying this. The Carnival is not a single event or a single type of event. It is a multi-layered tapestry of many different types of events. And that's where you have to start. Because many times when people start to talk about Carnival and morality, they jump straight to one type of event, one genre of the festival. But they forget how many other pieces of the festival exist that are there, that when we want to paint with a tar brush, you have to look at all before you start your painting. It's like a color me by numbers. You have to look at everything. So consider that when you're talking about Carnival, you're talking about Calypso, Blue Devil Mask, Canbole. That's a reenactment of the 1881 riots. You're talking about the Soca Monarch. You're talking about the Kings and Queens, the Marsh Gras, Junior Calypso, Calypso Tent, Panorama with the top steel bands. Then you're talking about the children's pan festival. Then you're talking about Kiddies Carnival. You're talking about the panyards. You're talking about the fetes, and of course, Juve and Carnival Monday and Tuesday.
Plenty inside it.
There are lots of different dimensions to Carnival. And, you know, Carl Jung used to say, if cleanliness is next to godliness, differentiation is right after it. Differentiation is the art of making the difference between this and that.
Yeah.
The art of making a difference between this and that. So when we're looking at Carnival and morality, you have to look at all the dimensions of Carnival before you could come up with a particular overall or statement about Carnival and morality of its own. That's why they call the piece Morality and Mirror.
Listen, plenty of people listening to this, eh? So,
Morality and Mirror. That's why they call the piece that. Now, although many lament the morality of Carnival, many, in fact, from last year when I hear this is going to be the mother of all carnivals, I started my lament already. I'll tell you the truth. No, I did.
You lamented already.
No, I ain't finished lamenting. I started my lamenting already. We must remember that many aspects of the festival are inspiring, worthy of attention, and worthy of celebration. We have to remember that. The music of the Carnival season and the musical shows are uplifting, and for the most part, they're just brilliant. Just brilliant. I mean, my Carnival thing is a Tricanal show, a David Rudder show. You know, if I get in one of those on a Carnival, I good to go. But that is also part of the Carnival. You see, they demonstrate the continued infusion of hybridity in our culture. The whole music. I mean, I remember when Chutney Soca came onto the stage, but that was just like the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. And the Tassa drum in the heart of the engine room. Yeah. That's just beautiful. That's just, you know, poetry.
Yeah.
That's poetry.
Hold on. Corita Banca is one of my favorites.
Corita Banca.
Corita Banca. So
in Drani.
Yeah.
You know, so the cultural hybridity that we have had through the music that has brought, when Ganges meet the Nile.
Yeah.
You know, when we that musical fusion that we just take for granted, that doesn't easily happen in any other culture, that brings different genre of music together and does something with it that is just so beautiful. Yeah. We have to remember that too is Carnival. Yeah. That too is Carnival. We have to remember that. And without remembering that, we could do the lamenting without the celebrating and without the differentiating. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Differentiation is right next to them.
You see, Young, is Young pull that for us?
Carl Young.
Carl Young.
Right next to them. Therefore, it rubbing shoulders with them. You see, a few songs will always catch the pulse of the nation and challenge us to reflect on ourselves and invite us to grow up a bit.
Yeah.
And that's the other piece with the calypso. I mean, we just had, in the last while, the passing of Black Stallion.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
The man was a poet, philosopher.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Black Stallion said, if CARICOM dying slow, while the Rastafari movement growing, is something them Rasta on that them politicians don't know.
But it's true.
I mean, that is both poetry and philosophy fused together in this musical rendition. We also had Shadow dying not too long ago. I mean, when Shadow sang "Poverty is Hell," 3 little children, 1 dumpling, mommy had to slice it tin, a piece for the boy, a piece for the girl, a piece for the neighbor child called Merle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talk about the graphic experience of poverty in our poor communities, and really put before the eyes of the nation something that was really horrible. So not only does musical fusion and hybridity with the bringing together of different genre of music in the Carnival Festival, but it also is prophetic, because it also captures us like few other things capture us. I remember the year when David Rudder came out with Another Day in Paradise. The year before, I did 6 calypsos, 1 a week for Catholic News for Lent.
For Lent?
For Lent, yeah. For Lent. People ball. Then that year, when I was looking at what to do, and I listened to Another Day of Paradise, I wrote 6 articles on Another Day in Paradise, 1 a week for the whole of Lent. That's the depth of that song.
Yeah.
Because it speaks to exactly where we are as a society and exactly the challenge that we are facing, that we've pivoted to the money, and because we've pivoted to the money, everything is being undone. Everything. And he starts off, forge. That is the first word of the anthem. We so damn corrupt, that is the problem. You have to see in the music not only an art form, but you have to also be able to hear a prophetic voice in the music. You have to hear a prophetic voice in that music. And you have to hear that prophetic voice speaking to us to become a better people, a better nation, and better individuals. You have to hear it. You have to hear it. And if you hear that, then you understand that there's something in the music of the creativity of the artist and also of the inspiration of the prophet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you understand that, then we're having a real different conversation about morality and carnival.
But I just want to let you know you're a set-up man. I just let you know you're a set-up Archbishop.
Okay? How is that now?
Because come the end of the show, I can get 19 calls. Pull out those articles for me, because I'm sure you did a shepherd's corner on them. You were setting me up,
On what? A shepherd's corner?
On the calypsos that you...
Oh, no. That was back in the day. That ain't shepherd's corner. That's back in the day.
They will send me to find it.
Fair enough. So what I'm trying to say is that when you're looking at Carnival, one size don't fit all.
Correct.
I know Carnival costume does happen, but when you look at that Carnival, be careful, you know. Be careful, okay? I need you to be careful. Breathe deeply, it's okay. Let me do a little therapy.
Hold on. I have something to say. I remember, you know, I had at one point in time some young kids going out to Carnival, and their mother would tell them before they left home, that is too short, it is not right, go and put on a skirt. And they left our house looking very decent. And you know, there are certain bands that come over the stage first.
Yes.
I only heard, what the hell happened to your daughter? Oh,
you know,
my daughter. You understand? It's not our daughter, you know, it's my daughter.
Of course.
To find out a couple of years after that they would put their Carnival costume in a mailbox. Now, you understand why there's a whole Carnival costume going in a mailbox, and you walk out my house looking decent, and I see you later on stage. All right, let me just continue with the conversation. We're talking about morality and mirror.
You know, when I was a child, a Carnival costume used to come in a big box.
Yes.
And then it started to come in a shoebox.
Correct.
Then it came in a pizza box.
It could fit in a
man say next year go have to be email. But we will get to the costumes. Hold on. The point I'm trying to make up on this side of the article is that when you're talking Carnival, there are many different dimensions. And those dimensions is what we have to deal with. And those dimensions, that's where you have to look at it. So before you talk Carnival and morality, you have to ask yourself, differentiation, what are the pieces of Carnival? I know Kiddies Carnival remains top of the draw Carnival event.
Correct.
Brilliant and beautiful. I think last weekend we had the secondary schools and primary schools steel pan competition. And by the way, 2 Catholic schools came second and third. Yes. By the way, okay, I just saying. So they have all these other pieces to Carnival. But unfortunately, with the piece that is most in our mind, these other pieces just get shoved aside. So I wanted to start off by exploring some of these pieces and demonstrating how these pieces and morality are a different conversation than you might have expected when we first started this show or that article. Warning, just a warning. So let's look at steel pan. You know, I would tell you steel pan is another cultural and artistic force. Not in Trinidad and Tobago alone, you know. Every major university that teaches music has a little pan side. All over the world. Japan producing pans like a going out of style. The pan is really the only new musical instrument of the 20th century. And it is a marvel, an absolute marvel. To see a pan man do with the instrument what is just phenomenal. That's a whole other story. I remember the first time this struck me was as a young adult. In the Jean Pierre Stadium, they had a classical pan night. And Pat Bishop had Despers doing classical music on steel pan. And I was hearing pieces of classical music I didn't know, and a few pieces that I knew. And I was hearing it performed on the steel pan by people who didn't have a musical score in front of them and who were playing by memory complex pieces of arrangement with a classical piece of music. Now, top musicians will not do that. And top musicians coming together wouldn't be able to do that.
They have to have the score in front of them. They have to have a conductor. You know what I mean? Yes.
You have to have the score. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying it's a marvel. The intricate movement within the musical arrangement, the energy, the quality of the sound, and that these musicians are playing from memory, man, that to me is a mind blow. That to me is a complete mind blow. Go into any panyard and hear the musicians drilling down line by line, note by note, and what you witness, there's discipline, dedication, mastery of an art form. That's what you're witnessing. And you hear tick, 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 and everybody stop, and it's a tick, tick, tick. They start back again at the top. No. And then the arranger will play what he wants if he's not hearing it, and then they go back again until they get it. You know, what is amazing is they doing this for 2 months or more sometimes. Not for no money, you know. Not for money. They might get $800. It used to be 1,000. I think Gypsy dropped it to 8. They might get $800 a person for the whole time. So divide 2 months into $800. That's no money.
Yeah.
The motivation is the love of music, the loyalty to the band, the loyalty to the other players, and just the sheer joy of musical expression. That's a labor of love.
No, but what's so beautiful too is that, you know, we talk about inclusivity and dialogue to build communion. I remember, now my father was the manager of a steel band. My brother played steel band. And people would come in the panyard and they never beat a note in their life, but they say, I would like to play. And you say, all right, and you welcome them in. And to welcome them in, they start to, you know, learn the little drills and, you know, the little skills. And if they're dedicated, and 9 out of 10 times, they want to stay, they want to play. You know, they're playing for Panorama.
Yeah.
You know, they would say, and it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. You know, when you think of the Trinidadian, we often speak about ourselves as undisciplined, as lazy, as irresponsible. I mean, my boy, Lloyd Best went so far as to say, we unresponsible. Irresponsible is, you know what you're supposed to do, and you ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Unresponsible is, we don't even know what responsibility look like if it hit us in the head. We don't even know what it look like. But yet, young and old, black and white, local and foreigner, all together with one goal, perfecting the music and their skill, individually and collectively working together to produce a sound and a song on this musical instrument that was created right here in sweet Trinidad and Tobago. That has to excite you and inspire you to tell you that we are more than we like to see about ourselves. It has to excite you to that. We're much more than we like to see about ourselves. You know, where else you could get that array of human beings dedicated to a single task, coming in after work every night and stay until 1, 2 in the morning. If you have to do any extra thing for yourself, that is 1 o'clock in the morning, you're leaving after the practice, then you're now trying to get the last piece that you're trying to get clear in your head, and doing that for 2 months. Where you get that from?
Yeah.
You know, and the working individually and working collectively. You, in a steel pan, one man out on a note or one woman out on a note, the whole thing sounds sour, you know.
Yes.
And that the musical director will say, no, stop. And play it, let me hear you now. And until you get it right, you're moving. Nobody are moving, waiting on you, you know.
Yeah.
Until you get it right. Because each one has to get it right for everyone to get it right. That level of communion, that level of communion is something that we could learn. If the pan side billing communion fast and we don't understand, it's something the pan on, that we better learn. That we better learn. Now, all over the country, there's this energy, this vibe. It drives people late into the night making music. And it's a real vibe. And it runs you 2-3 months of extending yourself with the supreme sacrifice every single day. You are putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself out there every single day. You know, that has to be considered as something very unique. A dimension of Trinidad and Tobago that I want to tell you we don't often see. And we don't often reflect deeply enough upon it. Because if it could happen there, it could happen elsewhere also.
I want to just take you up on that, because I think that the reason we don't value it. We don't see it. And that is why, we pay the pan man $800 for 2 months worth of work. Because there's
For him, it's their work.
Right. But oh my goodness.
And for some guys or girls, that might be only $800 again after 2 months anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact is, it is amazing what is being accomplished. That's my point. That's my fact. Go into a panyard this carnival. Just go into any panyard this carnival. From the smallest band to the biggest band to the most prestigious, from the least known, go into any band. And what you see inside of there, if it don't blow your mind completely, I don't know what to tell you after that.
But do you know that? Well, I know you would know that. That's part of a tourist attraction, People visit panyards from in the evening to way in the night to just hear it. And they might be hearing them drilling over and over, but they go to listen to see this amazing thing.
Yes. Now I want to say, okay, all right, buckle.
All right.
Buckle. I don't want you rocking forward and hitting the windshield. Okay. From this perspective, I want to propose it could be argued that Carnival actually does have a morality of its own.
What?
That actually Carnival does have a morality of its own. You see, if you take the etymology of the word morality as coming from the Middle French morale, or from the Latin moralis, which means manner, characteristic, or character. Manner, characteristic, or character. I think you can argue, or at least I believe I could argue convincingly, that the character that emerges over the months of practice in the panyard is not often translated into other spaces in life in our nation. And in that sense, if the character that emerges out of the panyard experience is so different from the character that emerges on the workbench, in the school, in the office, etc., then it starts to seem to me like Carnival might have a morality of its own.
I had to dig into that one deep, because I can't believe that somebody who could be so dedicated, somebody who could be so skillful, productive, could leave that space, that orbit, and go into a different one and be different. It can happen.
Think of the leadership in a panyard. Think of that leadership. Second to none,
Yeah, I know.
And there are no rebellion and fussing and thing, It's just second to none. So I just telling you, It seems to me. It seems to me. The great challenge is to take these characteristics, attention to detail, solidarity, resilience, and reliance on one another for results, individual skill and collective rhythm, following orders, keeping a tight balance between the star player and the whole band, to take that into the rest of the nation. That's the real challenge.
Hold on.
Imagine if the nation ran like one giant panyard.
But I have the solution. Just coming out of this conversation. Let us send all our politicians to play pan.
To play pan.
Sorry, done.
But imagine if the nation ran like one giant panyard.
Fantastic.
If we all worked for the common good, if we all perfected our individual skills, if we all were relied upon by each other and delivered what the other one needed for their own betterment, for the melody of the nation, and we used them for the common objectives of building our nation, what a nation this would be. What a nation. If we could run this place like one big panyard. So if the panyard growing to higher heights and the nation going wherever it's going is something them pan men on.
That them politicians don't know.
No, Deacon Derek, how dare you? It's something them pan men on. I only quote in Black Stallion.
Yeah.
Them politicians don't know. And there is a natural sense and sensitivity in the pan and in the carnival that I think we have to start appreciating it. And I really don't think we look at it through this perspective enough. We go in a pan and say that nice experience and we gone. I think there's more than that. There's a whole model of community inside of there. There's a model of solidarity inside of there. Because if one man's slow in learning the piece, everybody slow down, eh?
Yeah.
Everybody had to slow down. If one man ain't getting it, everybody slow down. If the tune, the bass in the tune not working the way the arranger wants, everybody drilling over and over. That's just how it is. Until we get to perfection. And if the pan people are willing to put that level of dedication and practice into getting to perfection, it's something that they understand that the rest of the nation not getting right now.
I want to pause here because let's look. Because here you have your diversity, because it's all different kinds of pans. You have your tenor, your double seconds, your tenor pan, all your cellos and so on. So everybody, and then of course you have your rhythm section. And everybody's coming together with all their different pieces, putting it together to give you that magic.
So I was talking to somebody this weekend about one of the school bands. They turned on the TV and they saw the school band. And it's one of our schools from Deep South. And they said, to their intrigue and amazement, it wasn't African children playing it. It was a wonderful variety of Trinidadians playing the pan.
And that's what I mean about all the different kinds of pan.
East Indian, African, mix, tooth bagay. And that changes your understanding of the nation. And it also shows you that when it comes down to the pan and the music, Carnival have a morality of its own. I'm backing myself into my own corner.
Yeah, I realize.
I'm backing myself. You know, what if we think of Trinidad as one giant pan side? Imagine when we getting something wrong, 3 knocks on a piece of steel could stop everybody in their tracks and get them to start over. No quarrel, no fuss, no obscenity, no not tick, 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 and everybody stop in their tracks and everybody start over. Putting all your emotions aside and starting from the top again and working your way back through. That, my dear friends, that is a morality, read character, that I do not easily see in other spheres of our beautiful Trinidad and Tobago. You see in his song, Dust in the Face, David Rudder epitomizes the comment, the commitment and the sacrifice when he says, in this Panis Carnival, now it come to this. After 2 months of labor, living on nuts and corn from dusk till dawn, we must refuse to think about lose. After 2 months of living on nuts and corn from dusk till dawn, we must refuse to think about lose. That thinking that we going in there to win, that's after Exodus went viciously to get back the crown. And again, the song itself is brilliant. It's brilliant. But at that line, living on nuts and corn from dusk till dawn, listen, brilliant. When you consider the extreme sacrifice of the Panman, I hope you could agree with me that in this country, you know, the Carnival, it have a morality of its own. Read morality as character, okay? Yeah. Not moralis. Read it as character. It has a character, or we see character emerging out of our nation during the Carnival time that we don't easily see in other parts of the nation outside of Carnival time. It builds character, not seen or displayed in other spheres of our society. Unless you miss my point, I'm saying this is a higher moral standard that we must see in the rest of society, and that we have to find a way for the rest of society to come to that. Or as David Rudder will say, between the wrist and the rubber, there's a new truth to discover.
Oh, beautiful, poetic, poetic.
Between the wrist and the rubber, there's a new truth to discover. That's, I mean, what a line. Yeah. What a line. What a line.
Hey, he matched me there with Carl Young. That's good.
I will tell you, these boys, these are poets, prophets, philosophers. We have to be able to see it now and understand the beauty that we're dealing with. Now, I'm going to another dimension of Carnival. The fete. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, this is where a lot of the moral anxiety resides.
Anxiety, yeah?
I will tell you, moral anxiety is where it resides. The fetes have become an occasion for complete moral laxity. And I wish I could say it better than that. I wish I could get more poetic than that. But it's complete moral laxity. There might be, actually that statement might even be an understatement. You know? It might just be, I'm not sure yet. Trying to make up my mind. I'm trying hard. Music, dance, energy, forgetting about everything for a while, grooving to the beat, enjoying the moment. That could all be cathartic. I mean, which one of us haven't been to a really good fete and, you know, at the end of that, you just feel like the weight of your life has been lifted off of you. There's a joy that rises from deep inside. There's a coming together of people that is really absolutely amazing. So it should be cathartic. Catharsis is what you expect out of good art. Mm-hmm. It is a healing of the soul and a raising to higher modality or higher level of consciousness. That's what catharsis is. It is allowing for a release of bound up energy and providing psychological respite. Now, the effect could be cathartic. I've experienced that in my growing up, going to a really good party, everybody having a really wonderful time. You forget about everything in the world, and it's pure fun, pure energy, everything, the dance, the movement, everything. But you know, when fetes are named jam naked,
oh God,
where what you're there stink and dirty, there's very little left for imagination. Very little left for imagination. I want to tell you, after Jam Naked Fest that was on the eve of Corpus Christi morning, so it finished on Corpus Christi. It started on the Wednesday night. It finished on Corpus Christi morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. Some young woman heading from the Savannah down Frederick Street, they were confronted with the Blessed Sacrament in procession. And they made the sign of the cross. And then they began, well, they were appropriately dressed for jam naked. I leave that to your imagination. And then they began to try to hide their disgrace with whatever they could hide it with. Car, handbag, anything they tried to hide themselves with now. If they made the sign of the cross, they knew what it was, the Blessed Sacrament.
Yeah.
And if they tried to hide themselves, is back in the Garden of Eden begun.
Yeah.
Adam, where are you? I'm hiding. Why are you hiding? Don't tell me you went and eat that fruit I tell you don't eat. Why are you hiding? Because you're going to do what you know is wrong. You're going to do what you know is wrong. I mean, that image is for me, it says it everything. It says everything for you. Because they know better, and here morality, aka character, read character, is of a lower level now than they would be Monday to Friday in their office or in their school or wherever they would be dressed to go. Why is that? Why is that? You know, and that worries me. How do parents allow their children to leave home in these, and I just leave it, dot. I ain't going down that road too deeply. How do they, you know better than me, that how the children leave home sometimes and how they land up being viewed on television? It's two different things.
I agree.
Two different things. But you know, it's the same concern that many parents have expressed to me about the week when all of our young people go to Tobago after writing CXC. They say to me, what young girls have on or don't have on, it's so pitiful. I remember a young woman coming into Archbishop Panton dressed not even as bad as going to them fetes. And the Archbishop Panton said to her, but darling, how are you dressed like this? And she said to him, well, Your Grace, you have to be with it. He said, well, you look more without it than with it to me.
sounds like him.
The wit of the Archbishop. You know, how do the parents manage that? I don't know. I really don't know. But we ought to be very concerned about the costumes made in China. We ought to be very concerned about the way that our young women and sometimes our young men are dressing, heading out to these parties, and how much is revealed. The pictures of the carnival this year, well, okay, but no imagination is necessary. None. And once the bands made the choice to send the costumes to China to be made, we lost a lot of the tradition of creating the costumes here. And within our communities, we lost those communities that used to gather like the steel pan. The mass band was the next big community during Carnival. That's gone for the most part. Why? Because now it's all about the money. It's all about the money. If you're turning a profit, you can't produce it locally. You had to send it out to China. You had to get it produced, mass produced, and bring it back in, which means that no labor, no love, no community, no art form passed from generation to generation. So much we've lost by doing that. And once the costumes dived in a particular way, the dress code of the fetes went with it. It went with it. So my thing is, you know, we play in the wrong game. We're playing the money game. And it's playing to the lowest common multiple, the LCM. Well, you remember that from maths?
LCM, boy, lowest common multiple. Yeah.
We had to get to the HCF.
Highest common factor.
We had to get back to the HCF. And morality is about either you're heading to the LCM or the HCF. That you're either building character or you're degrading your character. And if how you are dressing, how you're carrying yourself is a degrade of your personhood and your dignity as a child of God, then I would say we head in the wrong thing. And once they excite the base desires of the human in a society, it is real difficult to put that genie back into the bottle.
Correct.
Real difficult.
Now, you know, you talked about moral laxity. That is taking, like, you know, one of those laxatives. Once you take the laxative, it's hard to stop, you know, because it's only one way you're going, you know.
Your imagery is too much for me.
That's
too much for me.
That is moral laxity.
As we look at Carnival itself, Carnival has always been about turning the world upside down. The king becomes the pauper becomes the king, the saint becomes the sinner becomes the saint. And from these inverted perspectives, we were allowed to see the whole world from a totally different perspective from the rest of the year. And in a really weird, quirky way, that turning the world upside down, in fact, reinforced the value system. Because when you see the society from the other perspective, you're actually reinforcing that both perspectives are perspectives that exist and that have to be reinforced. So the delicate balance required to keep the world in equilibrium is what the Carnival has been about from the real beginning.
Yeah.
There's a theorist, Bakhtin, a Russian theorist on Carnival, that talks about the Carnival being like the safety valve on a pressure cooker that keeps the society from overboiling and overheating itself. But from this inverted perspective, we also allowed to see the world from different perspectives and to appreciate the delicate balance required to keep the world in equilibrium. The carnival was never about a collapse of values. It was about an inversion of values.
Wow.
It upheld the value system at the end of the day.
I like that. It was not about the collapse of the values. And that's important for us to hear that and to reflect that and to echo that while we're talking about carnival morality and mirror. Because this is where the mirroring coming from.
Yep. Yep. And if you understand the carnival as an upholding of values, of turning the thing upside down, that's one way of seeing the carnival. What I'm seeing in the carnival today is a collapse of values. What I'm seeing in the carnival today is it has a morality that is different from, and in this dimension of carnival, lower than the moral expectation we'll have the rest of the time.
And what we are doing is we are seeing that carnival and that aspect of the carnival is now encroaching on the other sacred seasons.
On everything. You see, when carnival operated as a social catharsis, it was a ritual. It had a beginning, it had a middle, it had an ending. And midnight Tuesday, it ended. And after that, 1 minute past midnight on Tuesday, you sing a calypso, you was in deep trouble because the ritual was contained, it acted in a cathartic way. And Peter Minshall is the one who drew my attention to this. When he laments the end of playing the mass, he says you went and put yourself into the costume, and for 2 days you stepped into a character and you played it for those days. And after that, you had a different view of the world. If you played a sailor man, you played a bat, you played whatever you played, bookman, whatever it is you played, a blue devil, whatever you played, you entered in and saw the world from those perspectives. And then on midnight Tuesday night, the world returned to normal. What happens now is cool down Wednesday, this Thursday, that Friday, the next, the other, and the other, and the other, and the other. And then carnival shows all during Lent. There's no longer a ritual space. And because there's no ritual space, there's no catharsis.
Yeah.
And now, rather than carnival being a ritual that contains and allows the upholding of a value system, it becomes a hemorrhage through which the devaluing of the values is pervading the rest of our year and the rest of our time. Because we're blurring the lines between carnival, people are now no longer playing the mass, they're now playing their self. And when you start to play yourself, you excite the base desires and you blur the boundaries of decency in society. If we see carnival as the unconscious of society, like a dreamister person, then we must ask a more fundamental question.
Ooh.
What is happening in the society?
Wow.
The problem is not the carnival. The problem is the 300 and somebody days outside of the carnival. That's where the real problem is. The problem is not the carnival. The carnival is mirroring for us the problem that we're facing in the rest of society and the morality or lack thereof of the rest of our year. Could it be that the mass, rather than inverting the moral order, is simply holding up a mirror to the society? Is that possible?
I think that's a good question that we all have to ask ourselves, because it seems so.
You see, here's where we have to really stop and ponder and reflect. You know, the same discipline it takes for the steel band to be successful is the same discipline it takes for a nation to be successful. And in the band, you can't go and do what you want. You can't go and play yourself. You had to play the tune.
Yeah.
You had to play the mass. Everybody wants to play themselves. And that's where we are in a spot of trouble. Because by choosing to play ourselves rather than the mass, we're no longer into ritual.
Yeah.
What we enter is barbarism and degrade and collapse of morality. And that's what we enter right now. And those
Yeah.
are just not carrying us anywhere.
And we need, I want to take us back to just reflecting on the pan. That to me was so beautiful in the way you put that together. It was, there was Frank Sinatra tune. I did it my way. That's what we want to do. We want to do it rather than let us do it together. Let it be our way for the upliftment of the society, for the upliftment of the nation. We want to do our own thing. And it's my way or the highway. And nobody gets it together. We don't get there together.
And, I keep saying it, I feel like a stock record sometimes. But the moral laxity that we are seeing is not carrying us to become a better nation. It's not taking us in a direction to become a better nation. I mean, when you consider they have fetes that will cost you $2,400 a night per person. Okay? Per person. They tell you again VIPs alcohol whole night. Well, there are plenty. You have to drink plenty VIPs alcohol whole night for that. But that's what. So that's the other piece of it. That Carnival has not acted as an integrating force of the society in our time. But holding that thought for another time.
Yeah.
Holding that thought for another time. You see, could it be the mass rather than inverting the moral order is simply holding up a mirror to society? And if this is true, it points to the moral collapse that has already taken place in our society. Think of the corruption, the injustice, the culture of bribing, the political favoritism, etc., 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 etc.
Human trafficking. I can think of so many other things. Pornography.
Think of it all.
Yes.
That has seeped its way into the very fabric of our everyday life, as if it's okay. And in this sense, I will have to now argue against myself. Carnival does not have a morality of its own. It is displaying the lack of morality that exists the rest of the year through.
Whoa. So you change your tune.
Well, if cleanliness
is
next to godliness,
yeah.
Differentiation right next to. Okay? And so I would say with the pan, you see a higher quality of character than we see in the rest of society. In the fete, Carnival Monday and Tuesday, you're seeing a different, lower moral order that is actually a reflection of what's happening in the rest of society. That's where I would go with that. That's where I would go. So what's my key message? Carnival is a rich tapestry of events, each one contributing to the cultural landscape of TNT. Morally, some build, some reflect the broken social and moral codes that we have let down.
What's your key message? Key message for us.
The Lord's Prayer says, lead us not into temptation. If you are immersing yourself in Carnival, reflect on what you wear, how you carry yourself, your sobriety, the morality of your actions, and the witness to other people. Reflect on it. Reflect on it. My scripture reading, Romans 12, 1-2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
Wow. You couldn't have ended that better. That scripture reading is talking to all of us, and I hope everybody's reflecting on this and pulling your children, your grandchildren, everybody, pulling them together to look at Carnival, morality, and mirror. Thank you so much, Archbishop J. You have to say a prayer with us because we will need all God's grace with this one. The mother of all carnivals, they say.
Father, we thank you for your love and that you always give us what we need to follow you in even the most adverse conditions. We ask, Lord, that in these days that you give us the courage that we need to live as your people, to become your people in fact and indeed, and to witness to your tremendous love in all situations. And we pray that we may see in this carnival more and more and more of that good, that exemplary, that energy and that infusion of creativity. And that, Lord, save us from the worst of ourselves and save us from becoming what we really ought not to become. Protect us and preserve us through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Archbishop J. Everybody, don't forget, we're on Thursday night, we're on Thursday, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. We're also on 99.5 FM, so you can even get us on the radio on a Tuesday. God bless you, and thank you so much, Archbishop J.
God bless.